Trump's threat to impose punitive US import tariffs on 8 European countries opposed to his ambitions in Greenland has raised fears of a full-blown transatlantic trade war. Trump has announced 10% tariffs starting February 1st on Denmark, Sweden, France, Germany, the Netherlands and Finland, along with Britain and Norway, until the US is allowed to buy Greenland. He's vowed to increase that from 10% to 25% from June 1st, unless a total and complete sale to America has been completed.
I don't think you'd have NATO right now. I got them to go 5% and pay as opposed to 2% and not pay. I've done more than any other American president for NATO by far. And we'll see how that goes, but Greenland is very important.
European nations, meanwhile, have vowed to stick together and are mulling hitting the United States equally hard in return.
The threat of additional tariffs for security reasons is simply wrong. We are at a crossroads. Europe prefers dialogue and solutions, but we are fully prepared to act, if necessary, with unity, urgency and determination.
And there's a term that they're referring to constantly, the big bazooka. What exactly is this bazooka the EU could pull out over Trump's tariff threats? I'll explain that for you. The bazooka is essentially a nickname for the Anti-Coercion instrument, which came into force in 2023. This instrument allows the EU to impose sweeping trade sanctions, such as even excluding the aggressor's companies from its internal market, imposing export controls or ending intellectual property protections. These countermeasures are meant to be proportionate to the economic harm inflicted while minimizing pain to Europe. In this case, it's perfect. It's the ultimate recipe to hit back at Trump. But will the EU actually pull the trigger? France, for long, has been the bazooka's biggest champion and has urged European allies to consider deploying it if Trump goes ahead with his Greenland tariffs. Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz, however, struck a more conciliatory tone, citing the country's heavier dependence on exports. Now, countries with a strong emphasis on free trade, such as Ireland and the Netherlands, or those led by politicians with a close relationship to Trump, such as Italy or even the UK to some extent, have been reluctant to consider such measures in the past. For now, most member states have stressed on dialogue with the US. But let's get down to the root of it. What is it about Greenland that's got Trump constantly talking about the country? And behind the tariff threat lies a deeper strategic dispute. Greenland is at its core.
But we do prefer respect to bullies. We do prefer science to plotism. And we do prefer rule of law to brutality.
Nach wie vor keine Bereitschaft.
We do not want this escalation.
Zu kommen.
We do not want a trade dispute with the United States.
Sicherheit Europas zurzeit meine größte Sorge. Nicht Grönland, sondern die Ukraine.
Un altissimo potenziale che quindi possiamo lavorare per fare.
This is very high potential, so we can work to do even better, especially from our point of view in high value added sectors. This is why we decided to consolidate our economic partnership to promote mutual investment, to support the internationalization of businesses, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, and we are also setting ourselves the shared goal of overcoming some non-tariff barriers to market access for our products.
All'ingresso per i nostri prodotti.
For Donald Trump, Greenland isn't just a territory, it's a strategic asset. First, the location. Greenland is located right between America, Russia and Europe, making it geopolitically strategic. The US wants Greenland because China and Russia have been trying to establish more shipping and trade routes along the Arctic. Greenland is key for US security. The island is already home to a large US military base, and America believes that having Greenland as their property can help repel any possible attack from Russia. The second reason, Greenland is mineral rich. The island is rich in coal, zinc, copper, iron ore, diamond and oil, which obviously help America a great deal. The US already operates the Thule Space Base in Greenland. It's a key node in America's missile warning and space surveillance architecture. From Washington's perspective, control and influence over Greenland is essential to counter Russian military activity in the Arctic and to prevent China also from gaining a foothold through infrastructure investments, through mining projects or port access. Trump's anger is rooted in a familiar grievance of burden sharing. He's repeatedly accused European allies, particularly Denmark, which governs Greenland, of benefiting from US security guarantees while spending relatively little on defense, especially in the Arctic. In Trump's view, Europe controls a strategically vital territory but leaves the costs of its protection largely to Washington. And so he feels it's a sense of imbalance. And so he feels there's an imbalance. That sense of imbalance feeds into his broader criticism of NATO allies, reinforces his belief that US power should deliver tangible returns.
Well, the deal is going to be put out pretty soon. I mean, we'll see. It's right now a little bit in progress, but pretty far along. It gets us everything we needed to get.
Seen in this light, the tariff escalation is less about really trade deficits and more about power play and power politics. Trump is using economic pressure to compel European capitals to actually take Arctic security more seriously, to shut the door on Chinese influence and to align more closely with US strategic priorities. Now the question is what next? Whether Europe responds with unity, retaliation or restraint. That will determine if Greenland remains a strategic flashpoint or becomes the trigger for a much wider transatlantic economic confrontation, which is what it seems to be heading to right now.